Yes, I'm excited about our next guest, and I will give him an opportunity to introduce himself. Go ahead.
Hello, Chuki. Thank you very much for having me. I'm Noel Elfant. I began my career at McDermott, Will and Emery in the Corporate and Securities Department and moved from there to Fortune Brands, a large consumer products conglomerate, and eventually became General Counsel of Zebra Technologies Corporation, a publicly traded company in the barcoding and scanning area. And after a nice career there of about eight years as general counsel, its first general counsel, I became general counsel of a privately held company called DeLaval, which manufactures dairy farm equipment, part of the large Swedish conglomerate known as the Laval Group. And 2 years ago, I launched general counsel practice to provide that kind of broad general counsel experience to smaller businesses and individuals who may need it either on a particular issue or on a broad array of issues, but they don't want to hire an in-house lawyer with all the overhead and costs associated with that. And they don't want to continue to pay the large firms, which occasionally they're going to have to do if they're faced with a very significant issue, but they don't want to do that for their everyday legal matters.
Yeah, it's interesting, Nolan. I want to pick up on a couple of the points that you made. I should let the audience know, by the way, that you and I are both fellow Northwestern law grads. So I hold your judgment and your experience at the highest level. In all seriousness, Noel, I've been in admiration of how you've really managed your career trajectory, right? You've got all these sort of really impactful positions that you've held. You've managed different types of stakeholders. You have experience both in-house and as outside counsel. Give us a sense of just some lessons learned and recommendations to improve the relationship between outside counsel and in-house counsel.
Well, what I've learned really is where I get the most value from outside counsel as a general counsel. And it really comes down to relationships. It's rare for me to issue an RFP for a matter and get firms I've had no relationship with and individuals I've had no relationship with and them to come in and win the business. I think it's far more common to have developed longstanding relationships with individuals at law firms where you learn over time to trust their judgment and to trust them. And what do I mean by that? I expect, Chuka, you and I have talked about this many times, but I expect law firms to provide free legal services. And what I mean by that is there's a whole lot they can do that they shouldn't really be charging for, but it will pay back in the long run. There was a book written a while back called Don't Sweat the Small Stuff, and it's all small stuff. I would say to law firms that they shouldn't sweat the small stuff because it is not all small. They want the big stuff, but they're not going to get the big stuff unless they can provide me with the small stuff that helps me learn their competencies and trust their judgment. So what I'm looking for is a lawyer who I can call as if they were meeting me at the water cooler in my office, if they were working at the desk next to me. Let's say I'm about to go into the CEO to talk about a particular governance issue, and I know where I'm going to take that conversation. I may want to call an expert in the law firm and say, here's the situation and here's where I'm going with it, and just kind of gut check my own judgment here. And the good lawyer will have a 10-minute conversation with me and either steer me, nudge me in a direction, or say, no, right on, that's exactly right. And I don't get billed for that, because what am I going to do with a 10-minute law firm bill? And by the way, a 10-minute law firm bill could potentially still be $250 to $500 for that 10 minutes. There's no place to bill it. And it really shouldn't be a worry to the law firm to incur that kind of investment. Would I rather have that kind of relationship, or would I rather get tickets to a ball game? I'd rather have that kind of relationship where I learn to trust the lawyer and can call and reach out to a specialist for 5-10 minutes and get that kind of advice. Other examples would be, let's say I want a 50-state survey, and I know damn well the firm has already done a 50-state survey on a particular matter. I shouldn't have to pay for them to hand me something they've already done. That should be a resource that they provide to me. Training. If I want to bring the law firm in to train a department in my company. For example, I had at one point a law firm come in and do training on U.S. customs compliance for our import-export group. And they did not charge for that. They didn't charge for flying out from Washington. They didn't charge for their hotel. They didn't charge for their time. But you know what? After the training, I had a number of people in our import-export group come up to me privately and said, we're in trouble. based on what that training is, we're not doing A, B, and C.
Mm.
And that free training resulted in a disclosure to U.S. Customs that probably ended up billing out in excess of $100,000 of time to that law firm, all because they gave us a free training on that subject matter. So training's a good one. Template agreements. I was working with the law firm on real estate matters, and they realized that we had a lot of recurring real estate leases, almost storefront leases at DeLaval. And rather than do every single time, give me the advice of starting anew, they developed some template agreements that are kind of pro-tenant or middle of the road, depending on how we wanted to play it. And they gave us those templates at no charge. And sure, occasionally something would come up where I need advice on real estate. Well, who do you think I'm going to call? Exactly. I trust them, I'm going to call them. Another thing I like is if law firms, invite them to us to train, but sometimes I like the reverse. I like to be invited to the law firm to speak to them about what my company does and speak to them about what you and I are speaking about right now, how they can add value to me.
Yeah.
Not many firms do that, but I could guarantee you that most general counsel would jump at the opportunity to speak to the partners or even the associates or both at a law firm and talk about different things that affect them. And that develops relationships.
Absolutely.